Hello F11 members and welcome to the Fundamentals of Post-Production video tutorials for issue 91, August 2019. So here we have a picture shot a month or so ago in the colourful fields around Preci in Umbria, a shot of a poppy. You can read about how the background to this shoot in what's in a picture, in how it's done this month. In the accompanying feature, the deconstruction of the actual shoot. Just to recap, I shot it with a very fast lens, the 85mm f1.2 lens at maximum aperture to really get that lovely differential focus feel to it with all that lovely background so wonderfully out of focus. So let's just talk through the post-production on this picture, which is actually really simple this month. But you know, this game of post-production isn't just about how to use the techniques. It's all about the decisions we make and what we do to a picture and what we don't do to a picture. So let's work through this one. But it's also going to be a really good opportunity for me to demonstrate a new feature that's just been incorporated into the latest version of Lightroom Classic, and that's the texture slider. Okay, so we'll come back to that. Okay, so let's just go back to the loop view there, and I'm going to now come back on my history to import how the picture was brought into the shot in the first place. And as you can see there, it's got potential, but it just looks a bit flat, doesn't it, and lifeless. So we're going to bring this picture to life. Of course, the very first thing I do on import is add a caption, which I've already done here. You can see there, poppies in the fields near Il Calaccio, Umbria, Italy. Okay, so with that caption done, really important to get that caption in really at the first opportunity. Let's work through the processing of this picture. And as normal, as always, the first thing I do is bypass the color balance of the image. I just hardly ever alter that. I'm going to go straight to my black and my white points. I do this to virtually every image, but there you go. It's always the first thing to look at, and I'm going to adjust my blacks until I start seeing clipping there. So just by dialing in about -20 on my blacks, holding down the Alt key, I can adjust it so that the darkest tone in the picture is a pure black. I'm going to do the same with the whites now. Hold down the Alt key, move the white slider to the right until I start to see clipping appearing in the picture. And as you can see, I can come quite a long way before I start to lose any highlight tones there in the top of the image, up to about +70. Now, immediately, without doing anything else, that's done quite a bit to enliven the picture, to enhance the contrast there, hasn't it? So next thing I'm going to do is go back into loop view. I think though I'd like to add just a little bit more contrast, and so to do that there's various ways of doing this, but I like using the point curve, and you can see here point curve, there are these presets: linear, medium contrast or strong contrast. So I'm just going to set medium contrast to the picture there. And now I want this to be quite a bright, high-key picture, not a dark, moody image. I'm seeing this on a wall, you know, and I'm thinking we want to have lots of colourful, bright tones in it. So I'm just going to add a little bit using the exposure slider here. I'm going to add just a touch of brightness. And in fact, I find it really difficult to be accurate with this exposure slider. So if I just highlight the numbers on the right, I can use my shift keys on my keyboard to go up in increments of 10. And I think about +20 is right for this picture. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is just there's this lovely gradation of colour in this picture, from the greens at the bottom of the frame to the very pale but subtle blues of the sky at the top. But I'm in danger of losing that blue there, so I'm just going to use my grad tool here select the grad tool, hold down the shift key on my keyboard so that the grad is applied dead evenly, and I'm going to use it to just darken down the top of the picture. Now you can see I'm incurring on the top of the poppy there, which I do not want to do. So if I now just click on Show Selected Mask Overlay at the bottom, click on that, and now what I want to do is with my brush here of the grad, this brush palette here, now I want to basically erase. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just make sure that I'm erasing the mask overlay so the grad is affecting everything else apart from the poppy. Just adjust my brush size here, and then I'm brushing away, erasing away the effect of the mask overlay. Mask overlay is the red area there, which is not affecting the actual color of content of the picture. It's just telling me where the mask overlay is. Confusingly, the poppy itself is red as well, so in this situation it's not ideal, but nevertheless I'm just erasing that away. It's a very subtle adjustment, this, but this is what this game's all about. Okay, click off the mask overlay, and now I just want to bring back the exposure on the top of that image to just a little bit. I'm going to go about -20 there. Actually, again, I'm having trouble being accurate with the actual slider, so if I just highlight the numbers and use my shift key there, I would say about -29 there. Looks good to me. Let's just fine tune. If I go back to edit in my grad tool options here, I just fine tune that grad so it's a nice, real soft, gradual gradation of tones there. Click on done. The picture's really coming to me now, but I think this is a good opportunity now to demonstrate to you this new option we have here. Down here in the Presence tab of the Develop module, there's now a slider called Texture. Now what Texture does is, I'm just checking my facts here because this is a new feature, I need to get it right. It basically increases the appearance of texture in a photograph while still retaining fine details. At least that's what it says on the, that's according to Adobe. But let's just see what it does by actually moving the slider here to the right. So if I go to the right, now I can just see I've got +100 maximum detail there. You can see the difference it's making, particularly to that out of focus grass in the background and the texture in the poppy itself. And if I go the opposite way, it takes texture out, texture details out. That will be attractive to photographers who are shooting models who don't want to have any blemishes or detail in their skin. But for us in shooting landscapes, I would think most of the time we're going to be wanting to try and enhance texture. Now, let's just zoom in a bit so we can see the effect easier on the actual poppy itself. Now, if I move the texture slider to the left, you can see that the detail there in the poppy is being suppressed, is being lost. If I go the other way, you can see it's really accentuating it, which is quite interesting as well. Let's zoom out again, come back to fit, and thinking about what I want to do to this picture. Always stop and think. I've gone to great lengths to achieve that lovely out of focus, differential focus, bokeh feel to the background. I certainly don't want to start trying to put detail and texture back into that. But I do really quite like seeing that increased texture in the leaves of the poppy. So I don't want to apply any texture adjustment to the whole image, just to the poppy. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the adjustment brush here, this tool here, really useful tool. Again, I'm going to click on down here, show selective mask overlay. And now what I do is I basically, sorry, I've chosen the wrong tool here. It's that one. That's the radial tool I've chosen. It's the one next to it. That's the adjustment brush there. And so what I want to do now is the selective mask overlay is done. So what I just do is, again, I use the brush to paint in, to select the area that I want to make adjustments to. Again, it's not ideal because the mask overlay is being indicated in red and the poppy is red, but nevertheless, what's critical is down here you can see I've clicked auto mask. So basically it's detecting the edge of that poppy and the mask is only being applied to that area of the image. Click selective mask overlay off, and then come over here, and here's the texture slider in my options for the actual brush tool, adjustment brush, sorry. And now I'm going to just dial in a bit of texture. I would say around about plus 35 there to bring out that detail in the poppy. Click on done, and I'm really quite pleased with that. I think that's a useful addition to Lightroom, one that we'll continue to investigate in the future. Not quite done with this picture because I think it could just benefit from a touch of cropping here. I think this detail on the edge of the frame here, this is a moot point, and I'd be certainly interested in hearing your opinions, whether you agree with me on this, but I just think that's a little bit distracting. So I'm going to crop it. Now, I try not to crop my pictures, but sometimes it's unavoidable. And in this case, what I want to do is, can you see this key here? If I keep that key locked, I crop the image, it's going to keep the aspect ratio locked as well. But in this case, I don't mind a slightly squarer picture, so I'm going to unlock that aspect ratio there, and then just move the crop tool in here just to exclude that detail on the right there. Click on done, and there's my finished picture. Look at it before and after, and you can see subtle differences, quite marked actually in terms of contrast. And I think this has been hopefully a very interesting introduction to the benefits of the new texture adjustment tool as well. Okay, so we'll move on to part 2 now, and as always, we'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future post-production video tutorials. Thank you.